Confused about Microsoft Azure, Azure Stack Hub, hyper-converged infrastructure, that's HCI, and Azure Stack Edge? Don't worry, I will break down these products to help you choose the right product for your digital transformation journey. In this tutorial, you will learn about the public cloud offering, which is Microsoft Azure, and the Azure Stack portfolio for your on-premises. That includes Azure Stack Hub, HCI, and Edge. My name is Navneet Kumar. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and the founder of TrainCrash Technologies. The learning objectives of this tutorial are the definition of Microsoft Azure, its key features and benefits, and the use cases. Then the Azure Stack portfolio, including the Azure Stack Hub, hyper-converged infrastructure, the Azure Stack HCI, and the Azure Stack Edge. I will talk about the key features and the use cases of each Azure Stack portfolio, including the Azure Stack Hub, Azure Stack HCI, and Azure Stack Edge. If I talk about the Azure public cloud, so Microsoft Azure is a public cloud platform offered by Microsoft for individuals or enterprises who can sign up and launch their applications in this public cloud. It provides a vast array of computing, storage, networking, and other services like for AI and machine learning workspaces to help businesses and individuals to build, deploy, and manage applications through a global network of data centers. Think of it as a massive data center in the cloud, accessible from anywhere with an internet connection. That's what Microsoft Azure Cloud is. To determine whether your workloads are suitable for Azure, you must consider the Azure regions. These are 60 plus regions available in 6 different geographies, including the Northern America, Southern America, Europe, the Australia and New Zealand, and Africa, Middle East, and Asia Pacific. So you need to look for the region that is near to the user base where from your users will connect, because they will be accessing those services, so they must be available with low latency and high speed. Next is the service availability in those regions. Not all the services are available in all the regions, so you need to look for the availability of the service, that whether it is available in that particular Azure region or not. Next point you need to consider is the performance requirements, that whether you have a good internet connectivity so that you can access these applications and services from the public cloud. Also, you need to consider the cost. You can save lots of capital expenditure in this by not setting up the local data centers but hosting everything in the cloud with pay-as-you-go model. But you need to also look for the technical strength that you have to deploy and manage these services and the day-to-day operations to perform. If I talk about management and maintenance overhead, so we have different options, including the infrastructure as a service, where we deploy the servers and then we deploy the applications. So it provides better control but increased administrative overhead. You can look for the cloud services known as managed services or platform as a service, where the underlying infrastructure is managed by the platform, by Microsoft Azure itself. So it reduces the administrative overhead but also reduces the control. Then you also can consume the SaaS applications, the software as a service application, where you need to sign up and start consuming the applications without having any overhead of deployment or development or management of those applications. Coming to the security and compliance, you need to look for that whether the security and the compliance meets your organizational or regulatory that you want to meet the compliance, the standards, whether it is good to host the data in the public cloud in someone else data center for you, or you want to keep it locally or within your data center. So you need to look for the security. This security and compliance is a shared responsibility model between the vendor and the customers, the tenants. I have covered a video on that. That is um on AZ900 Azure Fundamentals. You can watch that video. I'll put the link in the description to know more about the public Azure cloud services and how to access these services. Moving further, I will talk about the Azure Stack portfolio, where there are three important products: Azure Stack Hub, HCI, and Edge, which results into most of the confusion to the administrators or to the people that which product is for what purpose. So I will explain these three products of this Azure Stack portfolio. One thing that is common in all these products that they have been designed and developed for your on-premises deployments or on-premises infrastructures. Despite of having so many services in the public cloud and the benefits of cloud, like the capital expenditures that you can reduce, or the opex cost, and the manageability, accessibility, despite these lots of benefits, many customers still invest into their on-premises data centers. And if that is the case, then you need to look for a product which can provide the cloud services, but from your data center, from your on-premises data center. So to use these cloud services for the digital transformation, for innovation, for you can say ease of access with better performance to these resources, meeting the regulatory compliance, organizational compliance, hosting the data locally within the data center, and you want to get that agility of the cloud within your data center, you can think of deployment of the Azure Stack. But which Azure Stack product suits to your requirement, I will be talking about that in details about each of these products. There are few things that are similar. These things are common in all three products. So that is one which is on-premises deployment. All these products have been designed for on-premises deployment of the cloud services for hybrid cloud, or maybe you want to deploy the disassociated or disconnected clouds within your on-premises, which has no connectivity to the public cloud. The last point that you see. So support for disconnected scenarios without direct connectivity to Azure is also possible. Close integration with Azure is also possible, and accelerated replacement and consolidation of legacy infrastructure you can do with the help of these products. Now let us dig deep into the three products of this Azure Stack family, Azure Stack portfolio, the Azure Stack Hub, HCI, and Edge. We will start with Azure Stack Hub. Azure Stack Hub transforms your on-premises data center into Microsoft Azure cloud-like service or platform, which means that you have your on-premises data center, but you want that Azure kind of services like virtual machines, storage account, virtual networks, the same resource provider model, the Azure Resource Manager model, the ARM model, which can be used for template deployments and for self-provisioning of the resources. So if you want to run the Azure but within your data center, then you can deploy this Azure Stack Hub. This can either be deployed in the disconnected mode or connected with the public cloud to have the flexibility of hosting some services in the public cloud and some services within your on-premises. So in the simplest term, you can think of Azure Stack Hub as Azure for on-premises environments. So I want to keep the data, to keep all the virtual machines, their network packets and everything within my data center. I do not want to leave that data center's boundary, but I also want the agility, the benefits of the Azure cloud service. So I can deploy the Azure Stack Hub. To determine whether your workloads are suitable for Azure Stack Hub rather than Azure, you need to consider these things like Azure service dependency. So you need to check that whether the Azure Stack Hub offers those resource providers or those services are available through this that are required by your application workloads. For an instance, the virtual machine scale set, the high availability options, the storage, database, or cloud services, PaaS services like Azure App Services or Azure SQL are available through the Azure Stack Hub. So you can use them. So you need to do a thorough research on that whether the resource providers are offered to you that you can deploy in your on premises and launch the Azure in your on premises data center. Next is the performance requirement. So you need to check there whether you will be getting the better performance because your users will be connecting locally and will be accessing the applications from the local data centers. So whether it will improve the performance or you already have a high speed internet connectivity that users can connect to the public cloud. So you need to determine this. Next is the cost. This brings a huge investment into the capital. You need to set up your data center. You need to buy the hardware, the servers, routers, switches, and all sort of hardwares that are required to set up a data center. So your capex and opex cost is going to be increased, and then you need to replace these hardwares every 3 years or 5 years as per the requirements. If you don't replace them, then the maintenance cost will increase and your high availability will decrease in that case because the components will fail more often. So you need to look for that. You need to look for the investment of the cost or money. Okay. Then we have management and maintenance overhead. So you will be getting additional management and maintenance overhead of your entire data center. So from physical data center hosts or network to the virtual machines or the operating systems inside those virtual machines and the services that you will deploy, it is your responsibility to secure them, to manage them, to maintain them. As far as the security and compliance is concerned, so you get the overall control of the security from the physical data center till the applications and the identities that are there in the data center. So this requires a huge investment into the security team that you need to have that technical strength in your data center that people can manage the security of the data center resources. That is also something that you need to consider. What you get with Azure Stack Hub is the full control on the data or the applications, enterprise applications that you run for your users. Next product is Azure Stack HCI. If I talk about the history of this HCI, so before HCI, this product was actually software defined data center, SDDC from Microsoft. Basically, what Microsoft aimed was to actually to provide the standardized approach for building software defined data center solutions. These days we do the virtualization in the data centers, be it hardware virtualization, the compute, or the storage virtualization, or the network virtualization, or the desktop virtualization through VDIs. So we need to do the virtualization in the data centers, and this was actually done through the different hardwares from different vendors, and the performance was not fine-tuned. All these hardwares were validated or not validated that were deployed. So what Microsoft aimed was to provide a standardized approach to build this software defined data center. So Windows Server Software Defined was actually introduced as a framework for hardware and software vendors to create and validate the hyper-converged infrastructure systems based on Windows Server. When we say hyper-converged infrastructure, so we are going to include the Hyper-V for the virtualization of the compute for the virtual machines. the storage space direct, a technology for the virtual storage to provide or storage virtualization to do. Then optionally network virtualization was also part of it, so you could virtualize your network. Layer 3 virtual networks you could deploy instead of relying on the layer 2 VLANs only. So including all this virtualization, this product was introduced as the software defined data center, as the DC. But later Microsoft rebranded it as Azure Stack HCI. So, as the HCI term suggests, that it stands for the hyper-converged infrastructure. So, it combines the compute, storage, and network virtualization. So, that is what this technology is. It actually combines the compute, storage, and network resources into a single and integrated system. HCI is actually a concept and as well as a technology. Remember that HCI is not only a concept, but it is today available as a technology as well, because we have the HCI operating systems which are fine tuned or designed and developed to do the virtualization of compute and storage and the network. So a lightweight operating system has been introduced by Microsoft, be it 22H2 or 23H2. Different versions of this are available. Do let me know in the comment section if you are using Azure Stack HCI and which operating system you're using in your clusters in your data center. So actually HCI is a concept and a technology that has been around for several years before Microsoft especially entered to this market of Azure Stack HCI. That's what I said, the software defined data center, or we are doing the network virtualization since 2012 R2 servers. We are doing Hyper-V virtualization from a long time. We are doing the storage virtualization from 2016 with the storage space direct. So these technologies were there, but now they were all combined and called as HCI. Well, Azure Stack HCI focuses on virtualized workloads and provides a foundation for running applications and services locally. You can think of it as a building block for your private cloud deployment. It provides the industry leading virtualization performance and the value. You pay for the software monthly via Azure subscription instead of when buying the hardware. And it is familiar for Hyper-V and server administrators, allowing them to leverage the existing virtualization and storage concepts and the skills they can apply here. It can be monitored and managed from the Azure portal or by using the on-premises tools such as SCVMM, System Center Virtual Machine Manager, or you can use the Windows Admin Center, PowerShell you can use, or the Azure portal as well. You can use the on-premises components like Active Directory, Group Policy, or PowerShell desired state configuration to do the day-to-day management of this HCI cluster. It works with popular third-party backup, security, and monitoring tools as well. It provides the flexible hardware choices as well that allows the customers to choose the vendor with the best services and support in their geography that they can choose the hardware from. And we have the validated hardwares that we can purchase, or we can go with the premier hardware type of the Azure Stack HCI solutions. Then you can also join the support between Microsoft and the hardware vendors that improves the customer experience. These hardwares are actually approved by Microsoft. So this is what Azure Stack HCI is. It can be a good solution for your branch offices or edge locations, for virtual desktop infrastructure deployment, for high performance Microsoft SQL servers, trusted enterprise virtualization that you want to deploy, keeping everything in data center, and scale out storage. So you want the storage to be scaled out. You have lots of locally attached storage, which is also referred as direct attached storage, that you can converge or transform into a vSAN, virtual SAN kind of solution through storage space direct technology. So this is an on-premises virtualization technology for compute, for storage, and for network that you can do with Azure Stack HCI. How it makes different it how it make it different than the Azure Stack Hub. So for Azure Stack Hub, I mentioned that the Azure Stack Hub offers the Azure like services in your data center, like the Azure virtual machines or the storage account or the PaaS offerings we have with the help of the resource providers provided. The Azure Stack Hub will still rely on the Hyper-V, storage space direct, or software defined networking to deal with. Whereas the Azure Stack HCI can work as a full-fledged cluster or a single server that you can deploy with HCI operating system on it and create the virtual machines and the virtual storage in that cluster. So this is Azure Stack HCI and can be good for these different solutions, the scenarios that I mentioned. Next is Azure Stack Edge. The Azure Stack Edge is actually a hardware appliance. This appliance brings the Azure services and capabilities to the edge locations. You have some small offices, some facilities where that data need to be processed locally. This data can be for the IoT devices or the AI based applications you have. So you have collected the data through these IoT sensors and you need to process it locally and then transform it and send it to the public cloud. This appliance offers the compute, storage, and AI capabilities at the edge. It's a hardware appliance. It has its own processor. It has its own storage. So it connects to the Azure cloud and sends your data to the Azure cloud by processing it locally. Azure Stack Edge facilitates processing of on-premises data and transferring it to the Azure cloud, Azure storage, as I mentioned. Azure Stack Edge has three primary components. Azure Stack Edge physical rack-mounted appliance that you can deploy on Azure, on your network actually, on-premises network. And this functions as a network storage gateway to send this data to the cloud. It includes an integrated FPGA component that has its own computing power, which enables accelerated AI inferencing as well for ML models. So you can train your data based on your models that you have developed and then send it to the cloud. Azure Stack Edge resource is accessible via Azure portal that allows you to administer and monitor multiple Azure Stack Edge physical appliances. The Azure Stack Edge local web UI is also available, which provides direct connection to the individual Azure Stack Edge appliance. Facilities initial facilitating initial installation and supporting such as management capabilities as restarting the appliance or viewing and copying local logs. So those kind of things you can do with this Azure Stack Edge. If I talk about the key takeaways of this tutorial, we have discussed about four different products from Microsoft. One is the Microsoft Azure, which is a public cloud platform offered by Microsoft for hosting the applications and servers in it, whether you use IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS solutions. And then the last three products are from the Azure Stack family. The Azure Stack Hub, in nutshell, it extends Azure to your on-premises environment, or you can say it transforms your on-premises data center into Azure. Then Azure Stack HCI is a hyper-converged infrastructure solution for running virtualized workloads on premises. So it does the virtualization of compute, storage, and networking. In fact, when you do the storage virtualization through storage space direct, so you have the option that whether you want to go with the uh, disaggregated storage where the cluster will be working only for storage virtualization, or you can go with that hyper converged where you have the same set of cluster for virtual machines and as well as for the storage. Azure Stack Edge brings Azure capabilities to edge locations for data processing locally and then doing the analysis based on your models that you have trained. So this is the summary of this tutorial about these products. In case you guys have any doubts, questions, please do let me know in the comment section. Subscribe to my channel for more videos, and thanks for watching. See you in another video.